In the mid-19th century, beneath the shadow of the Dinaric Alps in a small village called Smiljan, a storm raged over the night sky. Flashes of lightning split the darkness, and the sound of thunder echoed across the valley. In that storm, on July 10, 1856, a child was born, a child who would one day capture that very lightning and bend it to his will. The midwife, startled by the storm's fury, whispered that the newborn came with the lightning. His mother, Georgina Hayuka Tesla, looked into the flickering candlelight and replied, "No, he will be a child of light." That child was Nikola Tesla. It was a prophecy fulfilled in science. Tesla's early world was one of nature's raw forces, rolling thunder, whispering rivers, and the eternal hum of the wind through the hills of Croatia. His father, Milutin Tesla, was a priest in the Serbian Orthodox Church, a man of deep faith and disciplined intellect. His mother, though uneducated in the formal sense, possessed an extraordinary mechanical mind. She designed tools, repaired household devices, and crafted machines from scraps of wood and metal. It was from her that Nikola inherited his gift, the ability to see mechanical systems not as parts and pieces, but as living forms of thought. He would later say, "My mother understood the power of invention as deeply as any engineer." In her workshop of imagination, the seeds of genius were quietly sown. As a boy, Tesla was not like other children. His mind lived in a world of images, numbers, and unseen forces. He could visualize objects in complete detail, turn them, disassemble them, and reassemble them entirely in his mind without ever touching them. This ability, called visual thinking, would define his entire life. He did not need blueprints or sketches. His laboratory was his imagination. Every design, every invention, every spark of creation began as a living vision in his mind. To Tesla, thought itself was electric. From a young age, Tesla displayed strange habits that confused those around him. He avoided physical contact, refused to touch hair or pearls, and counted his steps while walking. He had an obsession with the number 3. He would circle a building 3 times before entering it. To some, these were signs of eccentricity. To him, they were rhythms of order in a chaotic universe. He once said, "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries." Even as a child, he sensed that the invisible world, the energy around and within us, was the key to understanding everything. His early education was shaped by curiosity more than curriculum. He devoured books on physics, mathematics, and natural philosophy. He built water wheels out of small pieces of bark to capture the current of local streams, fascinated by motion and flow. Once, he tried to build a perpetual motion machine using beetles as his power source, tying them to a small wheel. When the beetles stopped moving, he realized that even the most perfect idea required a source of energy. That realization, simple yet profound, would later guide him toward his lifelong pursuit to find infinite, renewable power within the laws of nature. Tragedy, however, shaped Tesla's young heart. His older brother Dane, a prodigy in his own right, died in a horse-riding accident when Tesla was just 5. The loss shattered the family. Milutin and Georgina adored Dane and had high hopes for him. After his death, Tesla lived in the long shadow of a brother's brilliance and loss. He often saw visions of Dane in his dreams and spoke of flashes of light in his mind. This trauma deepened his sense of isolation, but also awakened his visionary imagination. It was as if grief opened a door between reality and possibility, a door Tesla would walk through again and again in his life. At school, Tesla astonished his teachers with his memory and mental calculation. He could recite entire books word for word and solve complex mathematical problems without writing anything down. His mind worked like a symphony of precision. He would visualize entire machines, spinning in motion, testing their operation in his thoughts before ever building them. His teachers accused him of cheating, unable to believe that such an ability could be real. But for Tesla, the mind was not limited by the physical. It was a generator of reality itself. When Tesla discovered electricity for the first time, it was as if he had found the language of the universe. Watching lightning storms from his window, he would whisper that the earth itself was alive with energy. He dreamed of capturing that force, of taming the lightning to serve humanity. As a teenager, he read the works of Michael Faraday and James Clerk Maxwell, two titans who had laid the foundations of electromagnetism. Their equations were not mere symbols to Tesla, they were music, vibrating through the cosmos. He could feel the harmony between electricity and magnetism, between motion and light. It was then that his path was set. In 1875, Tesla enrolled at the Polytechnic Institute in Graz, Austria, to study electrical engineering. His brilliance there became legendary. He rarely slept, studying 20 hours a day, reading everything from electromagnetism to philosophy. His professors described him as a phenomenon. One day, during a lecture on direct current motors, Tesla argued passionately with his professor that such motors were inefficient. He declared that a motor could work using alternating current instead. The class laughed. Alternating current was considered impossible at the time. Yet in that moment, the seed of his greatest invention was born. Years later, Tesla would recall that day as the birth of his vision. A world powered by alternating current, a current that could flow endlessly in waves, just like the rhythm of nature itself. But his university years were not without struggle. Financial troubles forced him to leave Graz before completing his degree. Rumors spread that he had suffered a nervous breakdown. Lost, penniless, and misunderstood, Tesla wandered through Europe, working odd jobs as a draftsman and technician. Yet even in despair, his mind never stopped inventing. In the quiet of his loneliness, he designed electrical systems in his thoughts, memorizing every detail for the day he could bring them to life. "My brain is only a receiver," he once said. "In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration." These were not the words of a dreamer. They were the creed of a visionary. By his mid-20s, Tesla had mastered multiple languages and absorbed knowledge like lightning strikes, intense, brilliant, and unpredictable. He could speak 8 languages fluently, quote entire scientific texts, and recall conversations from years before word for word. But more than intellect, what set Tesla apart was his imagination, his ability to merge science and art, logic and wonder. To him, electricity was not just a tool, it was a living phenomenon, a manifestation of nature's hidden rhythm. He saw the universe as a grand symphony of vibrations, each frequency connected to another, forming a web of energy that bound everything together. And he believed that human beings, too, were part of that web. In his mid-20s, Tesla's life took a new direction when he began working in Budapest at the Central Telegraph Office. There, during long walks in the park, he would recite poetry aloud, and it was during one such walk in early 1882 that a vision struck him, literally like lightning. As he watched the setting sun and recalled a verse from Goethe's Faust, he suddenly saw before his eyes the design of a rotating magnetic field. He grabbed a stick and drew the image in the sand, a motor that could run without commutators, powered entirely by alternating current. It was a revelation that would one day change the world. In that moment, the theory of the AC motor was born, not on paper, but in the luminous theater of Tesla's mind. That same year, Tesla found employment with the Continental Edison Company in Paris, where he worked on improving electrical equipment. His supervisors quickly noticed his unmatched skill in troubleshooting and invention. He could repair complex machinery by intuition alone. But even as he improved Edison's direct current systems, Tesla dreamed of something greater, machines that worked harmoniously with the laws of nature, powered by invisible waves and resonant frequencies. His European colleagues admired his genius but struggled to understand his intensity. To them, he seemed possessed by a vision they could not yet see. To Tesla, the universe was speaking through current and light, and he was determined to translate it for humanity. As the years passed, the young inventor felt a powerful calling, one that pointed westward across the Atlantic. America, the land of opportunity, was also the land of electricity. Thomas Edison, the famous inventor of the incandescent bulb, was leading a revolution in New York. Tesla believed that if he could reach him, he could bring his own ideas to life. In 1884, with little more than 4 cents in his pocket, a few clothes, and a letter of recommendation, he set sail for the New World. That letter, written by his former employer, reads simply, "My dear Edison, I know 2 great men, and you are one of them. The other is this young man." The world was about to witness what happens when vision meets opportunity, when lightning crosses the ocean. Tesla arrived in New York exhausted but determined. The skyline shimmered with the new glow of electric lights, Edison's lights. He approached Edison personally and presented himself as an engineer. Edison, amused by his accent and eccentric appearance, gave him a chance. Tesla worked tirelessly, repairing generators and improving designs, often working through the night. His brilliance quickly became apparent. Yet, beneath this cooperation lay an invisible storm, the clash of 2 visions. Edison believed in direct current, steady and linear. Tesla believed in alternating current, fluid and boundless. Their paths would soon diverge dramatically, but in these early days, Tesla was still the young immigrant dreamer, walking the streets of Manhattan, seeing light where others saw darkness. The early life of Nikola Tesla is not just the story of a man, it is the story of human potential at its most radiant. A child of thunder who dreamed of harnessing lightning, a mind that turned grief into genius, solitude into discovery, and imagination into invention. His journey from the small village of Smiljan to the heart of industrial America is a testament to the power of vision. Before the wars of current, before the fame and the downfall, there was simply a boy looking up at the sky, watching the lightning dance, and whispering to himself that someday he would understand its secret. Tesla's early life reveals the anatomy of genius, how wonder shapes intellect, how loss shapes purpose, and how imagination bridges the gap between dreams and discovery. It was in those formative years, surrounded by nature's storms, guided by the intelligence of his mother and the discipline of his father, that Nikola Tesla became what the world would one day know him as, the man who turned imagination into electricity, and electricity into the light of civilization itself. The dawn of Tesla's genius was not a single event, but a slow illumination, like the dim glow of a filament before it bursts into brilliant light. When he first set foot on American soil, the world was standing on the edge of an electrical revolution. Yet it was still trapped in the limits of direct current. The streets of New York flickered unevenly, the smell of oil and machinery mixed with the scent of progress. For Tesla, this new world was both chaos and opportunity, a vast field where his imagination could finally be built in metal and wire. Tesla's mind was a storm of ideas. He saw patterns where others saw only sparks. At night he walked along the Hudson River, the city lights shimmering like electric veins across the water, and imagined entire systems of power stretching from coast to coast. He could sense the pulse of energy beneath the ground and above the sky. His thoughts were not confined to machinery, they extended to the essence of life itself. He believed that everything in nature, sound, light, motion, was a form of vibration. If one could understand the resonance of these vibrations, one could understand the secrets of the universe. This philosophy guided his every experiment, from the simplest coil to the most complex generator. Even in his youth, Tesla carried within him a strange duality. His mind was both a precision instrument and a vessel of dreams. He could calculate with mathematical clarity, and yet speak of the soul of electricity, as if it were a living being. Those who met him described his gaze as piercing, almost otherworldly, as if he could see beyond the visible world into the invisible machinery of existence. When he spoke about his ideas, his voice carried conviction and poetry at once. He would describe how alternating currents moved like waves in the ocean, rolling back and forth, carrying energy effortlessly through space. Listeners were captivated, unsure whether they were hearing science or prophecy. For Tesla, it was both. In his early work, Tesla learned to translate the vivid theater of his mind into physical reality. he began building prototypes of the alternating current motor he had imagined years before in Budapest. Each experiment was a battle between concept and material. Coils burst, sparks flew, and the smell of ozone filled the air. Yet, within those failures, Tesla found rhythm and truth. He treated every mistake as a whisper from nature, guiding him toward perfection. He once said that his inventions came fully formed, that he could run them mentally for weeks, observing wear, resistance, and motion until the design was flawless. Only then would he build it. Few people in history have possessed such an extraordinary mental laboratory. But Tesla's brilliance often isolated him. He was not driven by money or fame, but by the beauty of discovery itself. He lived with almost monastic discipline, sleeping only a few hours a night and working without pause. Meals bored him. Social gatherings distracted him. What he loved most were storms. Whenever lightning tore across the sky, Tesla would stand at the window of his laboratory mesmerized. To him, the storm was not destruction but communication, the earth speaking in pulses of power. He once wrote that he could feel the electrical vibrations of a distant thunderstorm through his body, as if he were an instrument tuned to nature's frequency. The young inventor's relationship with his parents shaped much of his emotional world. His father's stern discipline and eloquence taught him the power of words and logic. His mother's inventive instinct gave him the courage to create. Even years after leaving Smiljan, he carried their influence within him like a compass. When he faced doubt or exhaustion, he recalled his mother's quiet patience as she built her household machines from scraps, transforming necessity into invention. He realized that true innovation was not about power or prestige, it was about solving the mysteries of life itself. This humility, hidden behind his towering intellect, made him both a scientist and a philosopher. Tesla's early struggles in America were harsh. He often worked underpaid jobs digging ditches to survive. Yet even in those dark days, his mind continued to blaze. While others rested, he scribbled notes and diagrams in the margins of newspapers, refining his vision for an alternating current system that could deliver energy over vast distances with minimal loss. The idea seemed impossible, yet he believed it could liberate humanity from the boundaries of wires and fuel. He imagined a future where electricity flowed freely through the air, connecting every home, every machine, every human being. He called this the dream of wireless power. It was a dream that would consume the rest of his life. His extraordinary mental abilities grew stronger with time. He developed what he described as flashes of light, sudden illuminations of insight that appeared before his eyes, often accompanied by blinding brightness. During these moments, entire inventions would unfold in his mind, as if projected from another realm. Modern psychologists might call this synesthesia or hyper-imagination, but to Tesla it felt like revelation. He once said that he could see each invention not just as an image, but as a living structure, rotating, moving, humming with current. He needed no draftsman, no prototypes, he was his own blueprint. The inner landscapes of his thoughts were filled with turbines, dynamos, and magnetic fields, all dancing to the rhythm of cosmic energy. Yet his extraordinary gifts came with a cost. Tesla's senses were almost painfully acute. The ticking of a clock across the room could drive him to distraction. The vibration of a train miles away could disturb his sleep. He felt sound light and touch with unnatural intensity. To cope, he developed rituals, precise movements, repeated counts, meticulous routines. He could not bear disorder, for even the slightest irregularity shattered the harmony he depended on to think clearly. His mind was an instrument of precision, and the world around him had to remain tuned to it. Tesla's view of nature was deeply spiritual. Though he was trained as a man of science, he believed that the universe was alive with intelligence. To him, electricity was the breath of creation, a universal force linking matter, motion, and consciousness. He spoke of the Earth as a giant conductor, resonating with cosmic vibrations. Long before the idea of global communication existed, Tesla envisioned the planet as one vast network of energy and information. These beliefs, while mystical to some, became the guiding principles of his later experiments with resonance, wireless transmission, and global energy. His imagination stretched far beyond the laboratories of his time. It reached into the future, touching the world we live in today. As Tesla's reputation began to grow, so did the myth surrounding him. Some called him a magician, others a madman. He was known to produce bolts of lightning in his lab, to make bulbs glow without wires, and to send electric currents through his own body without harm. Reporters described these demonstrations as if they were witnessing sorcery. Yet, behind the spectacle lay profound science. Tesla understood resonance, frequency, and electromagnetic induction better than anyone alive. What appeared as magic was simply knowledge too advanced for the age to comprehend. He often said, "The present is theirs, the future, for which I really work, is mine." In those words lay both his pride and his tragedy. Tesla's early brilliance revealed itself not only in his inventions, but in his philosophy of life. He believed that every human being was capable of greatness, if they could learn to harness their inner energy, just as he harnessed electrical energy. He spoke of the mind as a receiver of universal thought, suggesting that creativity was not born within us but received from a higher source. To him, inspiration was a frequency one could tune into. This view placed him at the intersection of science and mysticism, where logic met intuition. In that space, Tesla lived his entire life, a bridge between two worlds. His first years in New York tested the limits of his endurance. Though he worked briefly under Edison, their differing visions soon clashed. Edison was a pragmatist, Tesla a visionary. When Tesla proposed redesigning Edison's generators to improve efficiency, Edison dismissed him, saying, "When you become a full-fledged American, you'll appreciate an American joke." Tesla left soon after, heartbroken but not defeated. He wandered the streets of the city, unemployed and nearly starving. Yet even in those moments, he never lost faith in his ideas. His mind continued to generate light even when the world around him grew dark. In the years that followed, Tesla's alternating current system would rise to global importance, but it was his formative years, the storm of his youth, that forged his resilience. Each hardship became fuel for invention, each failure, a lesson in patience. His early experiences taught him that genius was not a gift but a responsibility. To possess such vision meant to endure isolation, misunderstanding, and sacrifice. He bore these burdens quietly, sustained by a belief that his discoveries would one day serve all humanity. The story of Tesla's early life is, in many ways, a study of the human spirit's capacity for wonder. His journey from the lightning storms of Smiljan to the electric glow of New York was a journey from nature's chaos to human-made order. Yet he never lost his reverence for the forces that first inspired him. He remained a child of that storm, a man who listened to the whispers of thunder and heard equations in its echo. He once remarked that his greatest wish was to give mankind the means to draw limitless energy from the universe, to end poverty and suffering through the power of science. To him, electricity was not just progress, it was compassion transformed into light. In later years, when he looked back on his youth, Tesla spoke with both nostalgia and sorrow. He remembered the nights when he lay awake under the Balkan sky, counting stars and imagining them as distant sources of energy. He remembered his mother's hands, stained from work but graceful in their creativity. He remembered his brother's death, the visions that followed, the loneliness that pushed him deeper into thought. Each memory, each flash of emotion, had shaped the architecture of his mind. He was a product of both light and loss, a reminder that sometimes genius is born not from comfort, but from struggle. Tesla's extraordinary mind, molded by imagination and disciplined by reason, became one of the greatest instruments of discovery in human history. But before the patents, before the fame and the isolation, there was the young Nikola, an observer of lightning, a dreamer in darkness, a believer in the hidden order of the world. His early life was the crucible in which his genius was forged, and his genius, in turn, became the spark that lit the modern age. He once said that he felt himself part of a great cosmic engine, and that his role was to translate the language of the universe into the language of invention. Perhaps that is the truest description of his early mind, a bridge between nature's silence and humanity's progress. When we look at the lights that shine in every city today, we are seeing the echo of that mind, the imagination of a boy who once stood in a storm and decided that lightning could belong to humankind. And so, the early life of Nikola Tesla stands not only as the prelude to his scientific triumphs, but as a universal story of vision and perseverance. It tells us that genius is not born in laboratories, but in the restless heart of those who refuse to accept limits. It teaches that every spark of imagination, no matter how small, has the power to illuminate the world. For in that small village in 1856, amid thunder and rain, a child of light was born, and through his mind, the world would never again know darkness. When Nikola Tesla left his homeland, he carried no riches, no possessions of comfort, no family to rely on, only an unshakable vision and a handful of dreams that glowed brighter than any lamp of the time. His journey, from the quiet landscapes of Croatia to the roaring heart of industrial America, was not merely a voyage across continents. It was the passage of an idea from imagination to reality. The world of the late 19th century was awakening to the age of electricity, but its light was still faint and uncertain. In that fragile dawn, Tesla walked toward the future with the faith of a man who believed that the world could be remade through energy. After leaving the small village of Smiljan, Tesla's first steps toward innovation began in Europe. His mind, already restless and brilliant, sought the structure of learning. He studied at the Karlovac Gymnasium, where he first encountered the magic of electricity through his physics teacher's experiments. Watching sparks jump between electrodes, the young Tesla was spellbound. It was as if the very same lightning that lit his birthplace had followed him into the classroom. He decided then that he would devote his life to understanding this invisible force. Those demonstrations of static electricity may have been simple, but in Tesla's mind they opened the door to infinity. At the age of 17, Tesla fell gravely ill with cholera. For months he hovered between life and death. His father, seeing him fading away, promised that if Nikola recovered, he would allow him to study engineering, a dream he had earlier discouraged. Tesla survived, and that promise became a vow that shaped the destiny of science itself. When he finally returned to health, he threw himself into study with the energy of a man reborn. It was as if he had made a pact with life. If granted more time, he would dedicate it entirely to knowledge. In 1875, Tesla began his studies at the Austrian Polytechnic in Graz, an institution that would become the first true testing ground of his genius. He was an extraordinary student, tireless, precise, and visionary. He devoured his textbooks, attended lectures obsessively, and astonished professors with his memory and comprehension. It was in Graz that Tesla first encountered a Graham dynamo, a type of direct current generator that was considered the height of electrical engineering at the time. When he observed how its commutator sparked and wasted energy, he began to imagine a machine that could work without such inefficiency. He proposed an alternating current motor, one that could function using a rotating magnetic field. His professors dismissed the idea as impossible, but Tesla could already see it working in his mind, spinning perfectly, smooth as light itself. While his academic brilliance grew, life began to test him with hardship. Financial troubles haunted him, his scholarship was cut, and his attendance faltered. The strain of overwork, isolation, and exhaustion eroded his health. In his third year, unable to pay tuition and burdened by mounting pressure, he left the university without graduating. The man who had mastered complex mathematics and visualized future machines now found himself lost and uncertain, wandering the streets of Maribor and later Budapest in search of purpose. Yet even in these years of poverty, the fire of innovation did not fade. Tesla's genius was like a current. It could be suppressed, but never extinguished. In Budapest, while working for the Central Telegraph Office in 1881, Tesla experienced one of the defining moments of his life. He had been reading Goethe's Faust one evening, and as the sun set, his mind became flooded with inspiration. In a sudden vision, he saw the complete design of a rotating magnetic field motor, the world's first alternating current motor. He drew the diagram in the sand before him, explaining it to his astonished companion. It was not merely an idea, it was a moment of revelation, a pure transmission of thought from the universe into human understanding. That vision would one day change the world. Tesla's next step took him to Paris in 1882, where he joined the Continental Edison Company. There he worked on improving the design of direct current dynamos and other electrical systems used by Edison's expanding empire in Europe. His supervisors quickly recognized his talent. He could repair machines without schematics, detect flaws intuitively, and even redesign circuits in his head. Tesla's mind was a magnet for complexity. It attracted problems and dissolved them through logic and imagination. But while he was solving practical issues, his thoughts were always elsewhere, orbiting around his great dream, the universal transmission of power through alternating current. He once stayed awake for days, obsessed with perfecting a small motor design, sketching improvements on scraps of paper between shifts. Those who worked with him thought he was strange, quiet, distant, consumed by invisible worlds. Yet behind those faraway eyes, Tesla was reimagining the entire foundation of electrical engineering. The company's leaders admired his brilliance but could not see the scale of his vision. Europe, for all its growing industry, could not contain a mind that sought to electrify the entire Earth. By 1884, Tesla's ambition had outgrown his surroundings. He was 28 years old and restless, convinced that his ideas could only thrive in the land of invention, America. The very name carried the scent of opportunity. It was where Thomas Edison had become a legend, where machines hummed and cities glowed. Tesla believed that if he could only meet Edison, he would find the support he needed to turn his alternating current system into reality. He took a job in Strasbourg, saving every coin, living frugally, building small experimental devices in his spare time. When he had enough, he bought a ticket aboard a ship to New York. The voyage across the Atlantic was not easy. Tesla carried with him a few personal belongings, a bundle of notes, and a letter of recommendation from Charles Batchelor, his supervisor in Paris, addressed to Edison himself. It read, "My dear Edison, I know two great men, and you are one of them. The other is this young man." But during the journey, fate tested Tesla once again. Somewhere mid-ocean, a theft occurred. His money and most of his belongings were stolen. A storm then struck the ship, nearly capsizing it. When he finally arrived in New York, he was nearly penniless, exhausted, and wearing clothes torn from the voyage. In his pocket were a few coins, the letter to Edison, and the sketches of his inventions, his only treasures. New York in 1884 was a city of contrasts, glittering electric lights in wealthy districts and dim gas lamps in poorer streets, horse-drawn carriages competing with streetcars, and a sky filled with the smoke of progress. Tesla, tall, lean, and carrying a foreign accent, seemed out of place in this restless world. Yet he saw beauty in its chaos. He saw a city trembling with the pulse of energy, a city ready for transformation. On his first day, he walked from Battery Park to Edison's office on Pearl Street, determined to meet the man who symbolized America's technological might. When Tesla entered Edison's laboratory, the encounter between two giants of the electrical age began. Edison, practical and hands-on, favored direct experimentation. Tesla, analytical and visionary, preferred to construct and perfect systems in his mind before building them. They were opposites, yet both driven by the same hunger to control electricity. Edison hired Tesla immediately after reading Batchelor's letter, assigning him to work on improving dynamos and generators. For months, Tesla worked tirelessly, often from early morning until midnight. He impressed everyone with his efficiency and insight. He could diagnose faults by listening to the hum of a machine. He could imagine the entire flow of current through its circuits as if seeing it alive. But as their collaboration deepened, so did their differences. Edison was focused on profit and practicality. Tesla was motivated by beauty and idealism. When Tesla proposed redesigning Edison's entire system to use alternating current, Edison dismissed it as impractical and dangerous. He told Tesla that alternating current was a waste of time. Tesla disagreed. He saw that alternating current could travel great distances with minimal energy loss, while Edison's direct current required costly and inefficient networks of generators and wires. To Tesla, alternating current was not just an engineering improvement. It was the key to electrifying the world. A famous story from this period reveals the tension between the two men. Edison half-jokingly offered Tesla $50,000 if he could redesign and improve his direct current generators. Tesla did so with remarkable success, optimizing the system beyond expectations. When he later asked for his reward, Edison laughed and said, "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor." The young inventor felt betrayed. Disillusioned, he resigned immediately. That moment marked the end of their brief partnership and the beginning of one of the most significant rivalries in the history of science. Alone in a foreign land, with no money and few connections, Tesla was forced once again into hardship. He worked manual labor, digging ditches to survive, earning just a few dollars a day. Yet even in those grim circumstances, his mind continued to burn with visions of electromagnetic fields and rotating machinery. Each day, as he dug trenches for the very cables that carried electricity through New York, he imagined how much more efficiently it could all be done with his alternating current system. The irony was not lost on him. He was laying the groundwork for a future that only he could see. Tesla's journey from Europe to America was more than physical migration. It was a transformation of spirit. He left behind a world that doubted him and entered a world that misunderstood him. Yet through both, he carried an unwavering belief that his discoveries would one day serve all of humanity. He never sought wealth, he sought understanding. To him, America represented not a destination but a laboratory of dreams, a place where imagination could finally take form. Each night, as he walked through the city's electric glow, Tesla thought of his mother back in Europe. He often recalled her words, that he was born during lightning and destined to work with it. In the hum of the city, he could almost hear that same lightning whispering to him, urging him forward. The immigrant genius stood among millions, unknown and uncelebrated, yet within his mind were inventions that would change the course of civilization. By the end of his first year in America, Tesla's reputation began to stir quietly among engineers and investors. His ideas were radical, his speech poetic, his experiments astonishing. Those who heard him describe the future felt as though they were listening to a prophet of the electrical age. What began as a desperate journey from Croatia had now become a pilgrimage of discovery. A man's pursuit to connect the earth through invisible waves of energy. Tesla's voyage was not simply about finding opportunity, it was about carrying light across the world. His journey mirrored the very current he would one day perfect, alternating between struggle and triumph, flowing endlessly between despair and revelation. And just as electricity must pass through resistance to produce light, Tesla too endured resistance to illuminate the modern age. As the months passed in New York, Nikola Tesla's persistence became the quiet pulse beneath the noise of a city that never slept. The man who had once been a brilliant student in Europe now lived in modest boarding houses, often skipping meals, yet his notebooks filled with diagrams of future machines. He was no longer the employee of a great inventor, no longer sheltered by the institutions of learning, but a man alone with his ideas. Yet in that solitude, Tesla found the freedom to think without boundaries. He began sketching the blueprints of a world that ran not on direct current, but on the elegant rhythm of alternating current, a force that could be transmitted across continents with ease, carrying light and energy to every corner of civilization. In 1885, after leaving Edison's company, Tesla approached a group of investors with his designs for an arc lighting system. These men were intrigued by his intellect and funded a new business, the Tesla Electric Light and Manufacturing Company. For the first time in America, Tesla had a workshop of his own. He worked relentlessly, designing generators, regulators, and improved arc lamps that produced a brighter and steadier light than anything on the market. His system was successful, and the company installed lighting in parts of New Jersey and New York. But the investors cared only for quick profit. When they realized Tesla's interest had shifted from lighting to his dream of alternating current, they forced him out of his own company. They kept the patents he had filed and left him with nothing. It was another cruel blow. Once again Tesla found himself penniless, walking the same streets he had walked when he first arrived. He had no means, no investors, and no one who believed that alternating current could ever work. For nearly a year he labored as a manual worker, digging trenches for the very company that had abandoned him. Yet each night, he returned to his small rented room and continued to design in silence. His imagination was inexhaustible, his determination unbreakable. In those dark months, Tesla's faith in his own vision became the only light that kept him alive. One cold evening, as he rested by the river, Tesla watched the turbulent current flowing under a bridge. The rhythm of the water reminded him of the alternating waves of electric current he had imagined years earlier in Budapest. In that moment, he felt certain that nature itself worked in alternating patterns, from the oscillation of waves to the vibration of atoms. If we can harness that natural rhythm, he thought, we can give the world limitless energy. That night, under the dim gaslights of the city, he vowed once more to bring alternating current to life. Fate soon brought him an ally. In 1887, Tesla met Alfred S. Brown, a Western Union superintendent, and Charles F. Peck, a lawyer and entrepreneur. Unlike the opportunistic businessmen he had met before, these men recognized the depth of Tesla's genius and gave him what he needed most: trust and resources. With their support, Tesla established a small laboratory on South Fifth Avenue. It was here, in that modest workshop filled with the smell of metal and ozone, that the miracle began to unfold. Tesla's lab became a temple of light. Coils, wires, and rotating machinery filled the space, and every night the air shimmered with blue sparks. Tesla's alternating current motor, a concept that had lived in his imagination for years, finally came to life. It rotated smoothly, powered not by direct contact but by the invisible push and pull of a magnetic field. When Tesla saw the rotor spin, he knew the world would never be the same. That small, humming motor was the physical proof of his dream, the machine that could transform the way humanity used electricity. In 1888, Tesla presented his invention to the American Institute of Electrical Engineers. As he stood before an audience of scientists and industrialists, he described the principle of the rotating magnetic field with mathematical precision and poetic conviction. The room was silent. Few had ever seen such clarity of thought or such elegance in explanation. When Tesla demonstrated his motor, it whirred effortlessly, glowing faintly under the current. The engineers erupted in applause. The impossible had been proven. News of his invention spread quickly through the scientific community, and among those who heard of it was George Westinghouse, an industrial pioneer determined to bring safe and affordable electricity to America. Westinghouse immediately recognized the potential of Tesla's system. He visited Tesla's laboratory and offered to buy his patents for alternating current motors and transformers. Tesla agreed to a deal that gave him $50,000 in cash, royalties for every horsepower of electricity sold, and a position as a consultant at the Westinghouse Electric Company in Pittsburgh. After years of struggle, Tesla finally had both recognition and stability. But more importantly, he had a platform from which to change the world. At Westinghouse, Tesla faced immense technical challenges. The existing infrastructure was built around Edison's direct current system, and convincing the world to switch was no small task. Many engineers doubted that alternating current could be controlled safely. Yet Tesla pressed on, refining transformers, improving insulation, and designing entire networks of generators and transmission lines. His alternating current could travel miles without significant loss, and he developed systems that converted it efficiently from high voltage to low, making it safe for homes and businesses. But Edison, unwilling to see his own empire threatened, began a campaign to discredit Tesla and Westinghouse. The so-called War of Currents erupted, a battle not only of technology but of ideology. Edison portrayed alternating current as deadly, staging public electrocutions of animals to terrify the public. Newspapers printed gruesome illustrations, and Edison's men spread fear wherever they could. Tesla, in contrast, remained calm. He believed that truth would prevail through demonstration, not argument. To prove the safety of alternating current, he began performing daring public experiments, letting thousands of volts of electricity pass through his body to light bulbs held in his hands. Spectators gasped in awe as his tall figure stood illuminated by blue arcs, the current flowing harmlessly around him. He was no longer just an inventor, he was becoming a legend. The turning point came with the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, a grand fair celebrating progress and human achievement. The contract to illuminate the entire event was awarded to Westinghouse using Tesla's alternating current system. For the first time, millions witnessed the true power of Tesla's vision. When night fell and the fairgrounds burst into radiant light, it was as if the stars themselves had descended upon the earth. Over 200,000 light bulbs glowed in perfect harmony, all powered by Tesla's AC generators. The crowd was stunned. Alternating current had triumphed before the eyes of the world. That victory paved the way for the greatest project of the century, harnessing the energy of Niagara Falls. For generations, engineers had dreamed of converting the falls into a source of electric power, but the challenge seemed insurmountable. It was Tesla's alternating current system that made it possible. In 1896, the first power plant using Tesla's designs began transmitting electricity from Niagara Falls to Buffalo, New York, over 25 miles away. When the city's lights flickered on, people stood in the streets in silent wonder. The dream of distant power transmission had become reality. The current born in Tesla's imagination now flowed through wires, illuminating homes, factories, and dreams across a continent. Yet even in his moment of triumph, Tesla remained a wanderer of thought. His mind refused to rest. Having conquered the challenge of alternating current, he turned to wireless power. The dream of transmitting energy through the air, without wires at all. In his laboratory on Houston Street and later in Colorado Springs, he experimented with high-frequency currents and resonant circuits. His coils produced bolts of artificial lightning that leaped across the room, sometimes stretching over 20 feet. He claimed he could feel the earth itself vibrate with the rhythm of his machines. In those nights filled with thunder and ozone, Tesla felt closer than ever to the heartbeat of nature. But fortune is a current that shifts direction as unpredictably as lightning. The economic panic of 1893 and financial mismanagement within Westinghouse Electric nearly bankrupted the company. To save Westinghouse from collapse, Tesla made a decision that astonished everyone. He tore up his contract, giving up the royalties that could have made him one of the wealthiest men in the world. It was an act of pure generosity and loyalty. He told Westinghouse, "You have been my friend, you believed in me when others doubted. You will need your funds to continue the work. I am not interested in money, I am interested in the cause." That act, though noble, cost him millions in future income, but it preserved the partnership that kept alternating current alive. As the years passed, Tesla's fame grew, but so did the mystery surrounding him. Newspapers called him the Wizard of Electricity. He performed dazzling demonstrations, lighting lamps without wires, sending currents through the earth, and creating artificial lightning storms that shook his laboratory. Yet behind the spectacle was a man driven by a deeper purpose: to connect the entire planet through wireless communication and energy. He envisioned towers that could transmit messages, pictures, and power across oceans. The world dismissed it as fantasy, But Tesla was already seeing the outline of technologies that would one day become radio, radar, and even the internet. In 1901, with funding from J.P. Morgan, Tesla began constructing a massive wireless transmission tower at Wardenclyffe on Long Island. It was to be the culmination of his life's dream, a system that could deliver free energy to the world. But when Morgan realized Tesla's plan would make it impossible to control or profit from the flow of power, he withdrew funding. Construction stopped, debts mounted, and Tesla's vision crumbled before it could reach completion. The unfinished tower stood as a monument to a dream too far ahead of its time. Tesla's later years were marked by both solitude and quiet brilliance. He continued to invent turbines without blades, remote-controlled boats, oscillators that could shake buildings. But the world, increasingly focused on commercial gain, had moved beyond his idealism. Others built upon his foundations and grew rich, while Tesla retreated into the silence of hotel rooms, feeding pigeons in Bryant Park and whispering ideas to himself. Yet even in his loneliness, he never abandoned his belief in humanity's potential. He wrote that one day, "Man will connect his machinery to the very wheelwork of nature." His journey from Croatia to America was never merely about invention. It was about the relentless pursuit of a vision that saw energy not as a commodity but as a universal gift. Every hardship, every betrayal, every sleepless night had been part of a greater design. Tesla's life embodied the struggle between imagination and reality, between purity of purpose and the harshness of the world. He gave humanity the tools to shape the modern age, but asked for nothing in return. When he passed away in a small room of the New Yorker Hotel in 1943, the world barely noticed. Yet even in death, Tesla's current continued to flow. Through every city lit by alternating power, through every motor that hums in factories and homes, through every spark of wireless communication that binds the world together. The immigrant who arrived in America with 4 cents and a head full of dreams had, in truth, electrified the planet. His story is not one of wealth or conquest but a vision, of a man who crossed oceans not just to change his own life, but to ignite a new age of light for all humanity. In the quiet hum of every generator, in the glow of every light bulb, the echo of his journey remains, the rhythm of alternating current. The heartbeat of modern civilization is, in essence, the rhythm of Tesla himself. He left behind no fortune, no empire, but something far greater, the proof that imagination, when pursued with courage, can reshape the destiny of the world. From the small village of Smiljan to the roaring cities of America, Tesla's journey was the story of light conquering darkness, of thought transcending matter. And though the man is gone, his current still flows, invisible, eternal, and unstoppable, through the wires of history, carrying forward the dream he began. In the vast theater of invention that was the late 19th century, 2 names would come to define an era: Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. Both were geniuses, both dreamers, yet their minds worked in opposite rhythms, like 2 currents flowing in different directions. Edison, the self-taught inventor and master of practical application, was the embodiment of American industrial ambition. Tesla, the foreign visionary, spoke the language of nature's hidden patterns, perceiving energy as harmony and light as poetry. When their paths crossed, the world witnessed not just a collaboration, but one of the most dramatic rivalries in the history of science, a clash between invention and imagination, between pragmatism and perfection. It began in the summer of 1884 when Tesla, then a young man of 28, arrived in New York City with little more than a few coins, a bundle of clothes, and a letter of recommendation from his former employer, Charles Batchelor. The letter, addressed to Thomas Edison, contained only a few words: "My dear Edison, I know 2 great men, and you are one of them. The other is this young man." Those words opened a door that would change Tesla's life forever. Edison's laboratory at the time was the beating heart of invention in America. Men in smudged coats worked tirelessly, surrounded by glowing bulbs, coils of copper wire, and the metallic hum of machines. For Tesla, it was a temple of progress. When he first met Edison, he was struck by the man's energy, his rapid speech, his focus on tangible results. Edison, in turn, found Tesla's European manners and theoretical knowledge impressive but peculiar. The older inventor valued hard work and experimentation. Tesla valued precision, theory, and vision, yet for a brief moment their paths aligned. Tesla began working under Edison, tackling the most complex problems of the Edison machine works. He repaired dynamos, improved generators, and proposed innovations that could make Edison's direct current systems more efficient. Edison's approach to invention was based on endless trial and error. He once said that genius was 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. Tesla, on the other hand, preferred to design every detail in his mind before touching a tool. He could visualize machinery running in perfect motion, calculating every angle, every field, without ever drawing a line. To Edison's men, this seemed like magic. To Tesla, it was simple clarity. One story from this period became legend. Edison's company faced constant failures with its direct current generators, and he challenged Tesla to improve them. Tesla worked night and day, redesigning the entire system. After several months of effort, he presented the solution to Edison, who was astonished by its efficiency. According to Tesla's own account, Edison had promised him $50,000 if he succeeded. But when Tesla asked for the payment, Edison laughed and said, "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor." It was a cruel dismissal, but it revealed more than a clash of cultures. It showed the vast difference between two minds. To Edison, promises were part of business. To Tesla, they were sacred. Feeling betrayed, Tesla resigned from Edison's company. The young inventor, who had crossed an ocean in search of opportunity, now walked the streets of New York with nothing but frustration and hunger. Yet within that struggle lay the spark of destiny. For Tesla, the break from Edison was not an end but a liberation. It was the moment he resolved to pursue his own vision, one that would redefine the very flow of electricity across the world. Edison's system of direct current had one fatal limitation. It could not easily travel long distances without losing power. Cities had to install power stations every few blocks, and the cost was immense. Tesla, however, saw electricity not as a one-way stream but as a rhythm, an oscillation that could be transmitted efficiently through alternating current. While Edison built a practical empire, Tesla dreamed of an interconnected world where energy flowed freely across mountains and oceans. Their rivalry was not born from hatred but from two competing worldviews, one rooted in control, the other in liberation. As Tesla developed his alternating current system, the rift between them grew into a public feud known as the War of Currents. Edison, determined to protect his investments in direct current, launched a fierce campaign against Tesla's alternating current. He portrayed AC as dangerous and deadly, warning that it would electrocute anyone who dared to use it. Newspapers echoed his warnings, and soon the public grew fearful of the invisible force Tesla championed. Edison's tactics went beyond words. He organized public demonstrations to show the dangers of alternating current. In one of the most disturbing episodes in the history of science, animals were electrocuted in front of audiences to prove his point. He even supported the use of alternating current in the first electric chair execution, hoping to brand Tesla's invention as the executioner's current. The press followed every move, and what had begun as a technical disagreement became a spectacle, a war of ideology fought with lightning. Tesla, in stark contrast, refused to engage in slander or fear-mongering. He believed that the purity of his invention would speak for itself. To prove that alternating current was safe, he began performing public demonstrations of his own. In one unforgettable display, he allowed thousands of volts of electricity to pass harmlessly through his body, lighting bulbs and sparks with his bare hands. The audience gasped as blue flames surrounded him, yet Tesla stood serene, smiling, his hair glowing with static light. He had turned danger into beauty, fear into wonder. These performances were not mere showmanship, they were a message. Tesla wanted people to see that energy, properly understood and harnessed, was not something to fear but to celebrate. His calm defiance stood in sharp contrast to Edison's aggressive campaigns. Over time, the truth began to emerge. Westinghouse Electric, using Tesla's patents, successfully powered cities over vast distances, while Edison's direct current system faltered under its limitations. The tide was turning. Despite their rivalry, both men were bound by a strange mutual respect. Tesla admired Edison's relentless work ethic and ability to commercialize ideas on a massive scale. Edison, though stubbornly dismissive of alternating current, acknowledged Tesla's brilliance in private. In later years, when asked about Tesla, Edison reportedly said, "He was a great man, no doubt, a genius, but impractical." Tesla, on his part, once remarked, "If Edison had a needle to find in a haystack, he would proceed at once with the diligence of a bee, examining straw by straw until he found the object of his search. I was a sorry witness of such doings, knowing that a little theory and calculation would have saved him 90% of his labor." The contrast between them symbolized two sides of invention itself: the experimental and the visionary, the material and the ideal. Edison built systems that worked immediately, that could be sold, installed, and used. Tesla sought to understand the universal principles behind them, to make technology align with nature's own laws. While Edison filled the world with practical devices, Tesla filled it with possibilities. Their conflict reached its height in the late 1880s, when Westinghouse and Edison competed for dominance over America's electrical future. The victory came not through words but through spectacle. At the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago, Tesla's alternating current lit up the entire event with breathtaking brilliance. Over 200,000 bulbs glowed against the night sky, powered safely and efficiently through AC. The world saw, and the debate was effectively over. Alternating current became the standard, and Tesla's vision triumphed. Edison's direct current faded into history. Yet Tesla's victory was not celebrated as much as Edison's achievements had been. Edison remained a household name, a symbol of progress, while Tesla slipped quietly into the background, his patents sold and his fortune limited. The rivalry that had once electrified the public ended not with applause, but with silence. Edison continued to build his empire of innovation, phonographs, motion pictures, and countless devices, while Tesla moved on to explore wireless transmission, radio waves, and dreams far beyond his time. Still, there was an invisible thread between them woven from mutual recognition. In 1912, when the Nobel Prize Committee considered awarding both Edison and Tesla a joint prize in physics, reports suggest that both men refused to share it. Whether out of pride or principle, neither could bear to stand beside the other on that stage. The rivalry, though softened by age, had never truly died. As the years passed, Edison grew wealthy and powerful, while Tesla grew isolated and poor. Yet history would not forget. Time, like current, flows in cycles, and the balance of legacy shifted long after both men were gone. Edison gave the world the infrastructure of invention, the laboratory, the business of patents, the model of industrial science. Tesla gave the world the spirit of invention, the boundless imagination that dared to dream of free energy, of a planet connected by invisible waves. In the end, the rivalry between Tesla and Edison was not just a personal feud. It was a reflection of humanity's struggle between control and curiosity, between the known and the unknown. They were two men standing at the same crossroads of history, each illuminating the path in his own way. One built the foundation upon which industry would stand. The other opened the door through which the future would walk. Even decades after their deaths, their names remain bound together in the same sentence, as though destiny itself refused to separate them. Edison, the tireless builder of systems; Tesla, the dreamer who gave those systems life. Their conflict powered not only the evolution of electrical science, but also the very idea of progress, that progress requires both the hands that build and the mind that imagines. For Tesla, the rivalry was never about personal victory. It was about truth, about showing that the forces of nature could be harnessed with elegance and understanding. He believed that every great discovery belonged not to the inventor, but to humanity. "The present is theirs," he once said. "The future, for which I really worked, is mine." That future, bright with alternating current and wireless communication, would indeed belong to him. The rivalry that began in a dusty workshop in New York had given birth to the modern world. From the smallest household device to the vast power grids that span continents, the echoes of their conflict hum through the wires of civilization. And though their methods differed, both men, in their own ways, chased the same dream: to light the darkness, to give shape to the unseen, and to prove that human imagination could command the forces of nature. Their rivalry was not the story of two men opposing each other, but of two visions combining to propel the world forward. Edison taught humanity to work without rest. Tesla taught it to dream without limits. The currents they unleashed continue to flow. Through machines, through minds, through time itself. The world they built from sparks and shadows still glows with their fire. And somewhere, in that endless hum of electricity that surrounds us, the spirits of Edison and Tesla continue their eternal dialogue, one practical, one poetic, both unforgettable. The world at the turn of the 19th century was a battlefield, not of guns and armies, but of ideas, wires, and invisible forces that could light up entire cities. As Thomas Edison's direct current system gained popularity across the United States, the industrial world seemed convinced that DC was the way of the future. But Tesla knew otherwise. He believed that alternating current was the real path forward, a cleaner, cheaper, and far more powerful form of transmitting energy. Yet, the struggle to make that belief a reality would turn into one of the most intense technological wars in history. It would test Tesla's mind, his endurance, and his faith in his own vision. When Tesla joined forces with George Westinghouse, he finally found someone who understood his genius. Westinghouse, a visionary entrepreneur and engineer, had the courage and resources to back Tesla's ideas. Together, they began to build the foundation of the AC system: transformers, generators, motors, and transmission lines that could carry electricity across miles. The partnership was a fusion of two minds: Tesla, the idealist inventor, and Westinghouse, the practical industrialist. Their goal was nothing short of electrifying the world. But Edison did not sit quietly. He saw AC as a threat, not just to his business empire, but to his reputation. The War of Currents began as Edison launched a ruthless campaign to discredit alternating current. Public demonstrations were staged to show the dangers of AC. Animals were electrocuted in front of horrified audiences. Newspapers were flooded with warnings that AC could kill anyone who came too close. It was a war of fear and propaganda, a desperate attempt to hold on to a fading monopoly. Tesla, on the other hand, refused to fight with words. He chose to fight with results. In 1893, an opportunity arrived that would change everything: the Chicago World's Columbian Exposition. The fair was to be a grand display of progress and modern science, and it needed light. Edison's company proposed a DC system, but Westinghouse, using Tesla's AC patents, won the contract. When the fair opened, the world was awestruck. Over 200,000 electric bulbs illuminated the night sky, bathing the fairgrounds in a shimmering ocean of light. It was the first time humanity had witnessed the true power of alternating current. Tesla's dream had become reality, and his technology had triumphed over Edison's. The victory at Chicago paved the way for Tesla's next great challenge: the harnessing of Niagara Falls. For centuries, people had admired the majestic waterfalls, but Tesla saw more than beauty. He saw a natural powerhouse waiting to be tapped. He envisioned capturing the mighty flow of the falls and turning it into a source of clean, renewable energy. The project was colossal, involving some of the most advanced engineering of its time. Many doubted it could ever succeed, but Tesla's alternating current made it possible. When the Niagara Power Station began operation in 1895, electricity generated from the falls traveled 26 miles to Buffalo. New York, lighting homes, powering factories, and changing the course of human civilization. Newspapers hailed it as a miracle of modern science. For the first time in history, nature's raw power had been tamed by human ingenuity. The world recognized Tesla as the man who made it possible. Yet, despite his triumphs, Tesla's personal life remained filled with solitude. He was a man consumed by his ideas, detached from worldly pleasures. Fame meant little to him. He rarely attended social gatherings, preferring long walks alone in the park, where he would feed pigeons and think about new inventions. He often said he communicated with them on a level beyond words. Many found it strange, but to Tesla, it was natural. He saw patterns and connections in everything. Even the flapping of wings seemed like part of a greater equation. As the 20th century dawned, Tesla's fame soared. Newspapers called him the Wizard of Electricity. His demonstrations became legendary. Bolts of lightning crackling from his coils, sparks leaping across the air, electric arcs dancing at his fingertips. He seemed to command electricity as if it were an obedient servant. Audiences gasped as he illuminated wireless lamps from across the stage or sent currents harmlessly through his body. These weren't mere shows. They were glimpses into the future he envisioned, a world where energy flowed freely through the air, powering everything without wires or limits. But the higher Tesla's star rose, the more powerful interests sought to dim its light. Industrial magnates feared that his ideas of wireless power could destroy their empires. If energy became free, how could anyone profit? The very vision that could have united the world instead became a threat to those who ruled it. Funding began to disappear. Investors turned away. Even Westinghouse, once his greatest ally, was forced to cut ties due to financial pressures. Tesla's dream of a world illuminated by wireless energy began to fade into the shadows. Still, Tesla did not stop dreaming. He built his laboratory in Colorado Springs, where the vast open plains allowed him to experiment with lightning on a scale no one had ever seen before. There, he created artificial thunderstorms, sending electric discharges that leapt dozens of feet into the air. He measured the Earth's electrical resonance and believed he could transmit energy through the planet itself. It was here that Tesla made one of his most stunning discoveries. Signals could travel vast distances through the atmosphere, a phenomenon that would later lay the foundation for radio technology. Though Guglielmo Marconi would later receive credit for the invention of radio, the truth lay deeply intertwined with Tesla's earlier work. By the time Tesla returned to New York, his vision had grown even bolder. He began constructing the Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island, a massive structure designed to transmit wireless power and communication across the globe. He dreamed of a connected world, one where people could communicate instantly, where electricity flowed freely through the air, where every home could be powered without cables. It was the blueprint for the modern world we live in today. But investors saw it differently. They couldn't understand how free energy could make profit. The financial support vanished, and construction on the tower halted. Eventually, it was dismantled, a symbol of how society often fails to see beyond immediate gain. Despite the setbacks, Tesla's mind remained restless. He continued to design new inventions, turbines, oscillators, remote-controlled boats, and countless other ideas far ahead of his time. Many of his concepts were too advanced for the technology of his day to realize. His notebooks were filled with sketches of futuristic machines, flying vehicles, energy weapons, and even devices that could transmit thoughts. He often spoke of a world system that would unite humanity through communication and energy, a vision that eerily predicts the internet, smartphones, and wireless networks of our own age. As the years passed, the world began to move on, chasing new industries and technologies. Edison's name was etched into textbooks, Westinghouse's company grew, and Marconi received the Nobel Prize. Tesla, however, drifted into obscurity. The man who had given light to the world lived his later years in dim hotel rooms, surrounded by pigeons and blueprints of unfulfilled dreams. He spoke rarely but still thought endlessly. Those who visited him in his final years said his eyes still shone with the same intensity, as if he could still see currents of energy flowing through the air. In the silence of those last days, one could imagine Tesla reflecting not on fame or fortune, but on the universe itself. To him, everything was energy, vibration, and frequency. He believed that understanding these principles could unlock the secrets of life. Perhaps he found peace in knowing that someday the world would catch up to his vision. When Tesla passed away in 1943, the world barely noticed. Newspapers published small obituaries, yet few realized the magnitude of the loss. The man who had revolutionized electricity, who had powered cities and dreamed of wireless energy, was gone. But history has a way of returning to its forgotten heroes. In the decades that followed, his ideas resurfaced, resonating with scientists, engineers, and dreamers around the world. His alternating current became the standard for global power systems, his wireless principles formed the basis of modern communication, and his vision of a unified world through energy and information became the essence of the digital age. Today, every flicker of light, every hum of electricity, every wireless signal that connects us is a silent tribute to Nikola Tesla. His war was not one of conquest or wealth, it was a war for the advancement of humanity. He fought not for himself, but for the generations that would follow, for a world where imagination could become reality. His legacy is not just in machines or patents, but in the idea that one man's dream can electrify the entire world. Tesla's revolution of electricity was not just the triumph of a scientific principle, it was the triumph of vision over doubt, of intellect over ignorance, and of hope over fear. Even today, when we look at the glowing lights of a city skyline, we are witnessing his dream still alive, still pulsing, still radiant. Nikola Tesla remains the man who harnessed the power of currents, not only the electrical currents that flow through our world, but the deeper currents of human imagination that never cease to move forward, forever seeking, forever creating, forever illuminating. The world knew Nikola Tesla as the man who mastered electricity, but few realized how far his imagination reached beyond light and power. He was not content with the inventions that had already changed the world. He dreamed of what could come next. In his mind, the future unfolded like a living blueprint, filled with machines that could fly without wings, towers that could send messages across oceans, and energy that could be drawn from the very air around us. Tesla's unseen inventions were more than sketches and formulas, they were the early whispers of technologies that would define the modern age. Even as his public fame faded, Tesla's laboratory remained alive with ideas. He spoke of harnessing the natural frequencies of the Earth to transmit energy wirelessly, a dream that could have made power lines obsolete. He believed the planet itself could act as a conductor, delivering limitless energy to any point on Earth. This idea was embodied in his unfinished Wardenclyffe Tower, a colossal structure on Long Island that stood as a symbol of his boundless vision. It was meant to broadcast both power and communication signals across the world. In his mind, people would one day carry small receivers, drawing energy directly from the air. It was the forerunner of today's wireless technology, an early echo of Wi-Fi, cell phones, and global communication systems. Tesla also envisioned flying machines that would take off vertically and travel without fuel, powered by electromagnetic fields rather than combustion. He imagined electric aircraft that could soar silently through the skies, operating without pollution or limitation. Though the world wasn't ready for such concepts, his writings hinted at technologies that would later inspire drones and modern aircraft design. He even predicted self-driving machines and automation, suggesting that one day, robots would perform human labor and allow people to focus on creativity and discovery. Among his most mysterious concepts was what he called the death ray, a device he claimed could project concentrated energy to destroy distant targets. While often sensationalized, Tesla described it not as a weapon of war, but as a tool for peace, a defensive technology so powerful that it would make conflict impossible. He believed that true peace could come only through absolute deterrence, where no nation would dare attack another. Though such a machine was never built, his idea of directed energy technology became a foundation for later research into lasers and particle beams. Tesla's mind also reached into the realm of the unseen and the spiritual. He often spoke of vibrations and frequencies not only as physical phenomena, but as the essence of life itself. To him, the universe was a vast symphony of energy, where every particle resonated with purpose. He believed that by understanding these frequencies, one could unlock new forms of healing and communication, what he called the science of the future. Many modern researchers in energy medicine and quantum physics still echo these ideas, unknowingly tracing their roots back to Tesla's early theories. Even in his final years, when he lived quietly in a New York hotel, Tesla continued to file patents and write about inventions that few could comprehend. He spoke of extracting energy from cosmic rays, designing global systems for instant communication, and developing methods to control weather through electrical resonance. These ideas seemed impossible in his time, but today, many of them no longer belong to the realm of fantasy. Satellites now beam energy and data across continents, renewable technologies harness natural forces, and artificial intelligence performs tasks once only imagined in fiction. All reflections of Tesla's timeless foresight. To the end, he remained a man apart, unshaken by the world's doubts. His eyes still burned with the fire of curiosity, his thoughts still danced with equations and possibilities. In the quiet hours of night, surrounded by his papers and the hum of unseen forces, he dreamed not for himself but for humanity's future. He believed that progress was inevitable, that every generation would take one step closer to the boundless energy of the universe. Tesla's unseen inventions were not merely designs of machinery, they were expressions of faith in human potential. He believed that science and spirit were two sides of the same truth, that understanding nature was the path to understanding ourselves. Though many of his blueprints were lost or destroyed, his vision remains alive, pulsing through every spark of modern technology. The world he foresaw, connected, wireless, and driven by invisible energy, is the world we now live in. Nikola Tesla did not just invent machines, he invented the future. As the years passed, the brilliance of Nikola Tesla's mind continued to shine, even as the world moved on without him. The fifth chapter of his life story is not one of laboratories and lightning, but of reflection, solitude, and the enduring power of ideas. Tesla's later years reveal the depth of a man who gave everything to humanity, but asked for nothing in return. He had touched the sky with his genius, yet he spent his final decades grounded in silence, misunderstood by those who once celebrated him. But in that silence, something greater was taking shape, a legacy that would outlast his time and continue to inspire the generations to come. Living alone in New York City, Tesla became a figure of mystery. He took up residence in a small hotel room, where he lived among pigeons that he cared for tenderly, often calling them his only friends. To the outside world, he appeared eccentric, even reclusive, but within those quiet walls, his mind remained as active as ever. The same spark that once powered electric cities now flickered within the solitude of a forgotten genius. He spent hours writing notes, sketching inventions, and thinking about the universe's hidden patterns. Though his circumstances had changed, his imagination had not dimmed. It had simply turned inward, reaching deeper into the mysteries of energy, frequency, and the soul of existence. Tesla's thoughts during these years took on a more philosophical tone. He spoke often of humanity's potential, of how people could rise above conflict and greed through knowledge and understanding. He believed that the greatest discoveries were not mechanical, but spiritual. That one day, science would connect with the deeper truths of existence. He often said that, the day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. These words, once dismissed as the ramblings of an old man, now echo in the halls of modern physics and consciousness studies. Despite his isolation, Tesla remained a visionary. He dreamed of wireless communication across the planet, of renewable energy drawn from nature itself, of machines that could think and act independently. Many of his ideas were far beyond the technology of his time, but they formed the conceptual framework for what we now call modern innovation. He imagined a world where information traveled instantly, where energy was free and limitless, and where humanity lived in harmony with technology instead of being enslaved by it. In his eyes, invention was not a pursuit of profit, but a sacred responsibility to advance civilization. But Tesla's later life was also marked by neglect. Many of his patents had expired, his financial situation had crumbled, and his fame had faded into history books dominated by other names. The man who had given the world alternating current, the foundation of modern electricity, died almost penniless. Yet, even in his poverty, he never stopped believing in his mission. He once said, "The present is theirs, the future, for which I really worked, is mine." Those words would prove prophetic as history slowly rediscovered the magnitude of his contributions. In the 1930s, as the world was changing rapidly with the rise of radio, aviation, and early electronics, Tesla's ideas found new relevance. Scientists began to realize that many of the technologies they were developing had roots in Tesla's theories. His experiments in wireless power, radio waves, and electromagnetic fields became the basis for advancements that would revolutionize communication and energy. Even as he lived quietly, the world was unknowingly catching up to his vision. When Tesla passed away in 1943, he left behind more than just machines. He left behind a philosophy of invention. He believed that creativity was not limited to genius, but was a force within every human being. His life was a testament to the idea that one person, driven by imagination and purpose, could change the course of history. Though the lights of his laboratory had long gone dark, the glow of his ideas continued to illuminate the world. In the years after his death, recognition finally began to arrive. His name reemerged in scientific journals, his discoveries were reevaluated, and his vision was celebrated. The Tesla coil became a symbol of innovation and discovery, and his alternating current became the heartbeat of modern civilization. The unit of magnetic flux density, the Tesla, was named in his honor, ensuring that his name would forever live on in the language of science. Today, Tesla's legacy reaches far beyond electricity. His ideas influence everything from renewable energy to robotics, from communication technology to artificial intelligence. He is remembered not only as an inventor, but as a dreamer who saw the unity of science and nature. The world has come to understand that Tesla was not just ahead of his time, he was building the time to come. In the quiet of his final years, Tesla may have seemed alone, but history reveals that he was never truly forgotten. His energy lives on, in the lights that shine in our cities, in the power that flows through our homes, in the invisible waves that carry our voices across continents. He once said that everything in the universe is connected by energy and vibration. In that sense, Nikola Tesla himself is still here, vibrating through every current, resonating in every spark of human creativity. His life reminds us that true genius never dies, it only transforms, continuing to inspire as long as there is curiosity, imagination, and the will to dream. The story of Nikola Tesla's legacy is one that stretches far beyond his lifetime, rippling through generations like the very electrical currents he once tamed. The sixth chapter of his journey is not about the inventions he built, but about the impact he left on the world, a legacy of imagination, resilience, and boundless innovation. Though Tesla died in obscurity, his spirit rose again through the minds of scientists, engineers, and dreamers who found inspiration in his life's work. He had once said that, "The future is mine," and time has proven him right. His ideas, once dismissed as fantasies, have become the foundation upon which the modern world stands. After his death in 1943, the world began to rediscover Tesla piece by piece. His name, which had faded into silence, started to reappear in discussions of electricity, radio, and wireless energy. The very technologies that define modern civilization, alternating current, radio communication, remote control, and renewable power, owe their existence to the groundwork Tesla laid. Scientists revisiting his papers found concepts so advanced that they seemed to come from another century. What was once considered eccentric suddenly appeared prophetic. The man who was ridiculed for dreaming of wireless communication had, in fact, predicted the smartphone age. The visionary who imagined global energy networks had foreseen the modern power grid. The inventor who dreamed of machines thinking on their own had envisioned artificial intelligence long before the term existed. Tesla's name became a symbol for what human potential could achieve when unrestrained by greed or convention. His work began to inspire a new generation of innovators, people who saw invention not as a business, but as a calling. The scientific community, once skeptical, began to recognize his genius formally in 1960. The General Conference on Weights and Measures named the unit of magnetic flux density the Tesla, immortalizing his contribution to science. Universities and research institutes began to teach his theories, and his patents were re-evaluated, revealing how many of today's technologies trace back to his creative mind. In the decades that followed, Tesla's life became a legend. His image transformed from that of a forgotten inventor into a cultural icon, a symbol of pure genius, uncorrupted by power or profit. Writers, filmmakers, and artists began to tell his story, portraying him as the archetype of the misunderstood visionary. His name became synonymous with brilliance and imagination, a man whose mind reached beyond the boundaries of his time. The irony was poetic. The man who had died alone in a hotel room was now celebrated by millions. Tesla had finally become what he always was in spirit, a light that refuses to go out. His influence extended beyond science into the realm of philosophy and spirituality. Many thinkers began to see Tesla not only as a scientist, but as a philosopher of energy. He believed that the universe was a living entity made of vibration and resonance, and that by understanding these frequencies, humanity could live in harmony with nature. His ideas of interconnectedness anticipated the environmental movements of the future, reminding us that all energy, whether electrical or spiritual, is part of a greater whole. Tesla's belief that knowledge and compassion could uplift humanity remains a message more relevant today than ever. Modern innovators continue to walk in Tesla's footsteps. The electric car company that bears his name, Tesla, Inc., has become a modern embodiment of his ideals: clean energy, advanced technology, and daring imagination. Space exploration, renewable power systems, wireless communication, and sustainable cities all carry his fingerprints. Every spark of progress in these fields is a quiet echo of his dream, a dream of a future where humanity uses science to create harmony, not destruction. Yet Tesla's legacy is not merely technological, it is deeply human. His story teaches that true genius often walks a lonely path. He faced ridicule, betrayal, and poverty, but never abandoned his purpose. He believed in progress not for personal gain, but for the betterment of all. His dedication reminds us that innovation demands courage. The courage to dream when others doubt, to persist when others give up, and to believe in something greater than oneself. Even now, in laboratories across the world, in every satellite orbiting Earth, in every wireless device connecting billions, Nikola Tesla's presence endures. He is there in the hum of a power station, in the flicker of a neon light, in the pulse of a radio wave. His dream of a connected world has become our everyday reality. The invisible networks that power our civilization are his legacy made visible. Tesla once wrote, "Let the future tell the truth, and evaluate each one according to his work and accomplishments. The present is theirs, the future for which I really worked is mine." And indeed, the future did tell the truth. Today, we live in the world he imagined, a world lit by his current, connected by his ideas, and driven by the same curiosity that guided him. His legacy is not confined to the past, it lives in the rhythm of progress itself. Nikola Tesla's story is the story of human possibility. It is proof that even one solitary mind guided by vision and wonder, can change the course of civilization. He taught us that knowledge is the purest form of power, that imagination is infinite, and that the pursuit of discovery is the highest expression of the human spirit. Though his body has long returned to the earth, his energy, his true gift to humanity, still flows eternally through the world he helped create. In the final chapter of Nikola Tesla's remarkable journey, we find not just the story of an inventor, but the essence of a man whose vision transcended time itself. The seventh keynote reflects the enduring power of his ideas and how his genius continues to shape the world we live in. More than a century after his greatest discoveries, Tesla remains a guiding light for dreamers, scientists, and creators. A man who proved that imagination can be stronger than circumstance and that the human spirit, when inspired by curiosity, can touch the very forces of nature. Tesla's influence did not end with his passing. In many ways it was only beginning. His work became the foundation of an age he never lived to see. Every time a city lights up, every time electricity flows through power lines, every time a signal travels invisibly through the air, Tesla's presence can be felt. The world today runs on the very principles he once struggled to explain to a skeptical audience. He envisioned a global network of energy and communication long before the internet or satellites existed. He imagined wireless transmission, renewable energy, and intelligent machines that could think and respond, concepts that now define the modern world. His ideas reached beyond science, they touched philosophy and the human condition. Tesla believed that humanity was destined to evolve through understanding energy. Not just the energy of machines, but the energy of the mind and the universe. He saw all things as interconnected vibrations, bound by frequency and resonance. To him, every human thought and emotion was a form of energy that shaped reality. These beliefs, once considered mystical, now echo in modern physics and quantum theory. Tesla did not merely invent, he sought to understand the rhythm of existence itself. In the decades that followed his death, Tesla became a mythic figure, almost larger than life. His story has inspired countless biographies, films, and documentaries, each trying to capture the mystery of his brilliance. Scientists look to him as a pioneer, artists see him as a symbol of imagination, and visionaries regard him as the patron saint of innovation. His name now stands among the immortals. Einstein, Newton, Curie. But his legend carries a deeper message, that the pursuit of truth, even in solitude, can change the world. Tesla's legacy also serves as a reminder of how society often misunderstands its visionaries. He lived for ideas, not for wealth or recognition. In a world driven by profit, Tesla's idealism made him an outsider. Yet it was that very purity of purpose that allowed his genius to flourish. He never stopped believing in humanity's potential for greatness. He once said that our virtues and our failings are inseparable, like force and matter. When they separate, man is no more. To Tesla, progress was not only about invention, but about moral and spiritual evolution. He believed that knowledge without compassion could lead to destruction, and that science must serve humanity, not dominate it. Today, his philosophy resonates more deeply than ever. In an age of global challenges, climate change, overconsumption, and technological imbalance, Tesla's vision of free, clean, and limitless energy feels like both a prophecy and a warning. He dreamed of a future where energy flowed freely to all corners of the earth, eliminating poverty and empowering progress. He saw electricity not as a commodity, but as a birthright of humanity. Modern renewable energy movements and sustainable technologies are, in essence, fulfilling Tesla's original dream, a world powered by the forces of nature, shared equally among all. Tesla's name now graces innovations that continue to transform the world. The electric vehicles that carry his name represent the revival of his ideals: clean energy, scientific beauty, and the boldness to challenge convention. His work influences engineers designing power systems, scientists exploring space, and technologists connecting the globe. Yet, perhaps the greatest tribute to him is not found in machines or patents, but in the enduring belief that one mind, illuminated by vision, can alter the destiny of an entire species. His life also teaches the importance of humility before the mysteries of the universe. For all his genius, Tesla remained deeply spiritual, often speaking of the awe he felt toward the natural order. He viewed the universe as a grand machine, perfectly balanced, and believed that human beings were both participants and creators within it. He saw invention as a way to uncover the divine symmetry of existence. Even when ridiculed or forgotten, he remained faithful to his purpose, confident that time would reveal the truth of his work, and time has indeed revealed it. Today, Tesla stands as a timeless beacon of human possibility. His discoveries electrified the modern age, but his dream was always larger: to connect humanity, to free it from the chains of ignorance and limitation. His story reminds us that progress is born from perseverance, that failure is only a step toward discovery, and that no dream is too vast for a determined mind. As we look at the illuminated cities, the communication satellites circling the Earth, and the boundless energy that powers our world, we are witnessing Tesla's vision made real. He once said that, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." And in that sense, Nikola Tesla still lives, through every invention, every spark of curiosity, and every mind that dares to imagine beyond what is known. His life was a gift to humanity, his legacy an eternal current flowing through time, reminding us that even in darkness, one brilliant idea can light the world.